As the sun rose over Clearwater, Florida, the city seemed to move more slowly, as if everyone could feel the weight of the day. It wasn't just another celebrity funeral, this was the farewell to an icon, a man who brought color, energy, and hope into millions of lives. From the early hours, people made their way to the church where Hulk Hogan's funeral would take place. Some drove for hours, others had flown in from across the country and even from overseas. They came carrying posters, replica championship belts, hand-drawn portraits, and old event tickets, clutching them to their chests as if to hold on to a piece of their own childhood. There were young kids in fresh Hulkamania shirts and old-timers wearing faded red and yellow from WrestleMania's past. A few even wore homemade bandanas with "What Cha Gonna Do" written in black marker. Outside the church, camera crews quietly captured the scene, careful not to intrude on the intimate moments as friends, family, and fans embraced, exchanged stories, and wiped away tears. As the doors opened, the crowd filed in, many pausing at a large photo tribute in the entryway. There were pictures from every era, young Terry Bollea learning the ropes, the golden days of Hulkamania, the thunderous crowd at WrestleMania 3, his surprising turn as a villain in the NWO, his guest appearances on TV shows, charity events, and candid shots of him hugging fans and laughing with fellow wrestlers. The chapel itself was transformed for the occasion. The altar was flanked by massive bouquets in Hogan's colors. A single spotlight fell on the casket, which was custom-built and draped with a satin robe that read "Immortal" in gold, as well as his signature feather boa and bandana. On one side sat a framed display of his championship belts, on the other, messages from fans all over the world. The guest list was a who's who of wrestling history, many of them quietly emotional as they found their seats. Row after row included faces that had battled Hogan in the ring and stood with him backstage: Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Mick Foley, Randy Orton, Edge, and legends from both WWE and WCW days. Members of the NWO, in black and white, sat together as a tribute. Hulk's oldest friends from the industry, like Jimmy Hart and Mean Gene Okerlund's family, were there, along with younger superstars who'd grown up idolizing him. Vince McMahon sat in the front, looking tired and uncharacteristically small, head bowed. Beside him, Ric Flair wore his trademark sunglasses, but even he couldn't hide his tears. When the service began, it was a mix of solemnity and celebration. The minister spoke of the power of legacy, how the actions of one person could ripple through generations, and how Hogan's life was a testament to overcoming adversity, making amends, and giving hope. The eulogies were delivered not as performances, but as genuine tributes from people who knew him best. Ric Flair took the podium first. He spoke with his usual flair but choked up when recalling the old days, telling the crowd how he and Hogan, despite their fierce rivalry, would sometimes travel together between shows. He told a story about how Hogan would always buy extra meals and hand them out to homeless people waiting outside the arena, never wanting cameras to catch him doing it. The crowd laughed as Flair described Hogan's terrible singing voice during those late-night car rides, and then fell silent as he said, "He made me a better wrestler, but more importantly, a better man." The Undertaker followed, his deep voice reverberating through the hall as he described their epic battles and Hogan's unique gift for connecting with people. He recalled a night when Hogan noticed a young fan crying in the stands after a tough loss and insisted on bringing him backstage, spending nearly an hour talking with the boy and his family. "That was the real Hulk Hogan," Undertaker said, "the one who knew the power of a moment and never took his fans for granted." John Cena, who grew up watching Hogan, delivered a message of gratitude. He spoke of the nerves he felt the first time he met Hogan backstage at a WWE event. "He put his hand on my shoulder, looked me in the eye, and said, 'You're gonna be big, brother. Never stop believing.' I carried that with me every day of my career." Triple H talked about Hogan's resilience through injury, and how, even in his later years, he never complained, he only talked about how grateful he was for the life he'd lived. Messages from those who couldn't attend were read aloud, including a heartfelt letter from The Rock, who shared how, as a child, he would stand in his living room, copying Hogan's moves and dreaming of his own moment in the spotlight. "If you ever believed you could do the impossible, it's probably because you watched Hulk Hogan," The Rock wrote. There were tributes from Hollywood friends, athletes, and musicians, each offering stories about Hogan's sense of humor, generosity, and willingness to help whenever he could. Then, the most touching moments came from Hogan's own family. His daughter shared childhood memories, how her dad would leave her notes before leaving on long road trips, promising to call every night, and how, even when he was exhausted from travel, he made time to listen to her stories. His son recalled fishing trips, the way Hogan taught him to face fears, and the pride he felt seeing his dad inspire so many people. Both spoke about his flaws and mistakes with honesty, but always came back to the love and support he gave them, even when he was struggling himself. The service also honored fans. A montage played on screens at the front, featuring clips of people from around the world sharing what Hulk Hogan meant to them. There were little boys flexing their arms, grandfathers telling stories about taking their kids to see Hogan live, nurses from children's hospitals recalling his visits that lifted spirits, and messages from fans who found courage in his example to beat cancer, fight bullying, or overcome loss. A teacher from Chicago described how she used "What would Hulk Hogan do?" to motivate her students. These stories showed that Hogan's reach was never just about entertainment, it was about hope, about believing in yourself, and about bringing people together. After a final prayer, the organist began to play Real American. The congregation rose as one. Some fans, unable to hold back, did Hogan's signature ear cup gesture. Others cried quietly, arms around each other. As the song faded, pallbearers, including wrestlers, family, and longtime friends, carried the casket out to a waiting hearse. Outside, a procession began. Police motorcycles led the way. Fans lined the sidewalks, some holding up their hands in a final salute, some waving handmade signs reading "Thank you, Hulkster" and "Hulkamania lives forever." Some, lost in the moment, chanted, "One more match," knowing that while there would be no more matches, the memories would last a lifetime. The burial was private, attended only by family and a few close friends. As the casket was lowered, Hogan's wife placed his bandana atop it, and his children laid flowers, one red, one yellow. Each person present said a few words, some sharing prayers, others just whispering thanks. As the grave was closed, a soft breeze rustled through the trees, almost as if carrying the spirit of Hulkamania onward. The world's reaction continued for days. On TV, wrestling promotions aired tributes and classic matches, inviting fans to remember not just the performer, but the man. Online, #ThankYouHogan and #Immortal trended as celebrities, athletes, and ordinary people posted their stories and photos. In Tampa, a mural appeared overnight, depicting Hogan flexing with angel wings, surrounded by quotes like, "Never give up, brother." Wrestling schools held tribute shows and taught new generations about sportsmanship, resilience, and connection, the real legacy Hogan left behind. As the days passed, those who attended the funeral spoke of the feeling in the air, a sense of gratitude, a reminder of how one person can change the world, not by being perfect, but by showing up, lifting others, and never giving up. For many, Hulk Hogan's funeral was more than an ending. It was a call to action to carry forward the lessons of courage, kindness, and belief. His family promised to honor his memory by supporting causes he loved, children's charities, anti-bullying efforts, and helping wrestlers struggling with health after years in the business. As people left the cemetery, some paused at the gate and looked back one more time, sunlight catching on tears and smiles alike. For many, it wasn't just saying goodbye to a wrestler. It was saying thank you to a part of their own story. And somewhere in the distance, in the hearts of those who believed, the spirit of Hulkamania lived on, reminding everyone that legends never truly die, and the greatest heroes leave us with the strength to keep fighting, one more time.